Okay, so we have to talk about one more thing related to choosing good sources. And that is that this question doesn't really make sense in a vacuum because evaluation is inherently social. Information sources don't have intrinsic worth. They're as valuable as we think they are, and that value changes depending on who we is. Different communities develop different processes for creating information, and they use different channels to communicate it. And those processes and channels reflect what those communities value. So here's an example. Researchers create new knowledge. They may do it in the lab, in the library, or in the field, but they create new knowledge and they communicate their discoveries to the rest of their academic community or discipline. For 400 years or so, they've used journals to do this. And journals have a lot of benefits for researchers. They're published on a regular schedule, they bring related topics together, research done in the same field together, and they create a stable archive of knowledge that future scholars can use to inform their work. Similarly, newspapers have benefits for people who are interested in reporting the news. They're quick to print, cheap to produce, and disposable, which is perfect if you want to communicate quickly and frequently to lots of people. Now, these communities also develop processes to control the quality of the information that they publish, and these processes are shared. In the scholarly community, the shared system of quality control is called peer review, and this system reflects academic values in a broad sense, and it also reflects the values and practices of the different disciplinary communities. Peer reviewers review unpublished manuscripts and ask questions like, is this a good example of how we create knowledge in this field? Or is it likely to inform future studies? And the answers may be different depending on the field or the discipline. The professional community of journalists adheres to codes of ethics, and some of these are shared and some are specific. And these also reflect values of accuracy, objectivity, and so on. So I want to pause for a moment and say that I've been talking about different formats, newspapers and journals, and the benefits of each. And many of these benefits are attached to the print versions of these sources, and we have to talk about this because times have changed. Lots of communities today, maybe most communities today, recognize the benefits of communicating information in digital formats. And the physical differences between formats are blurry now. These sources look more alike than different today. So if we emphasize these physical differences, we're emphasizing the wrong thing. Because while the physical differences are disappearing, the processes underneath are still very different. How the information is created, how it is communicated, why it is created, and how it is reviewed for quality, these processes are different, and these process differences are still important. So when I evaluate sources, I need to understand the communities that created my sources, whether they're academic, professional, creative, and so on, and I need to understand what those communities value. And I also need to understand the community that I'm writing for, my audience, and what they value. Now, if I'm an academic using academic sources to make an academic argument to other academics, we all share similar values, and choosing sources is easy in that context. But your students don't have that benefit. We're asking them to use sources created by communities of which they are not members to communicate to you, representing an academic audience. They don't know you, and they don't yet feel like members of the academic community. They're going to need help. And we'll spend a lot of time this term revisiting the question of how to help them choose good sources.